Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ako po si Kerry Alonto, ang Department Head po ng City Economic Investment and Development Office ng Balanga City LGU. I am here representing also, of course, our beloved Mayor Francis Anthony S. Garcia. And this is part and parcel po of his trust in encouraging entrepreneurship and assisting our MSMEs in their business development here in Balanga City and, of course, Bataan. We would like to welcome you to our DTI SME Roving Academy webinar, The Accounting Equation, to be given to us by Ms. Maharlika Alonto, who is our guest for today. We will be conducting this via Zoom, and we are doing this in partnership with, of course, with DTI Bataan and the youth organization JCI Bataan and the ICT company, and one of the ICT companies here in Balanga City, Inspire. So before we begin, I'd like to turn the floor to our
Sir, wala kang audio, sir. Wala akong marinig. Sir, wala akong naririnig.
Narinig ko po, sir. Okay naman po.
Glyza, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, we're live now, guys. Can you guys hear me? Narinig mo yung intro ko, Glyza? Or do I have to start it all over?
Yes po.
Meron naman.
Meron po.
Yeah, because I can see that I could be heard naman. So sorry about that. So we would like to get back on track. No? So with that, we'd like to begin with a prayer. So I'd like to turn the floor to Edmer Fabian. Edmer, can you please lead us in our prayer? Edmer? Glyza, can you still hear me?
Okay na, sir.
Yes.
Okay yan.
Yes po, sir.
Okay,
Okay na,
Edmer,
sir.
can you please start off with a prayer?
Okay. So, magandang hapon po sa lahat. So, we invite everyone. So, let's have a moment of silence and pray to our God. Dear Lord, magandang hapon po this afternoon, and we thank you for this event. We thank you for all the people that made this happen. To our leader, the Honorable Mayor Francis, our head, Sir Kerry, especially to our guests and also to our participants who gave their time for this afternoon. We ask for your guidance that we may all be able to learn well and be able to utilize these learnings for our businesses and even for our lives. And with that, may we also be able to help the community, especially in this time of pandemic. We pray for the safety of everyone wherever we are, and we pray for each one's best learning, all for your glory. And we give you praises, Lord, through Jesus Christ, with the Holy Spirit. Amen. Sir Curry, we give the floor again to you.
Thank you for that, Edmer. All right. Gandang hapon po sa inyong uling lahat, no? May konti lang po kaming request lang po for everyone attending the webinar. Para lang po maayos ang ating connection. Request lang po namin na i-mute nyo po muna ang inyong mga mics, ang inyong mga microphone sa inyong mga devices. Pati po yung video nyo, kung pwede nyo po, piliin muna yung stop video. Later po, we will ask you to turn them on naman ho when we engage the speaker. You may write questions on the chat box. Since we're also on FB Live, you can post your questions there as well para mabasa po ng ating mga kasama sa na yung webinar na to. And then we can share it later with our speaker and try to learn more during this session. These will be answered at the convenient time of the presentation. So please do write your questions and take down your own notes. There is a button there for those inside the Zoom conference. You can click raise hand if you need to say something, and then we will turn on your microphone and your video. Also, please be informed that we are being recorded for this session, and this is again on Facebook Live. We can always go back to this video later on in case we want to go back to our notes or go back to the learning session. So we definitely want to thank the Department of Trade and Industry here in Bataan. Unfortunately, Madam Nelin Cabahog, the Provincial Director of DTI Bataan, is busy at the moment conducting inspections in a certain town here in Bataan. But this is a program of the DTI. This is the SME Roving Academy program that is done every year. For the past few years, it has been done, of course, not through a webinar, but through live sessions. But because of the pandemic, we are now conducting them through Zoom. And this is, again, as mentioned earlier, done in partnership with the City Government of Balanga, JCI Bataan, and Inspire, the ICT company here in Balanga City. So we have decided to come up with a series of webinars through the guidance of Madam Nelin that will help our MSMEs, not just in improving their way of doing their business, but to also address certain issues that we are experiencing right now and will be experiencing after this COVID-19 situation. So magtutulong-tulungan po tayo. Ang gobyerno po, tutulungan po kayong mga MSMEs para po mapabuti ang inyong pamamalakad sa inyong mga negosyo. At saka iniimbita namin din ang mga potential na maging negosyante na i-consider ang entrepreneurship as a way of life, which is the main thrust of the DTI. So we do hope that you will learn something new today. And for a lot of us, including myself, we will relearn something that we've already studied before in college and in school. So our speaker for today is none other than Ms. Maharlika Alonto. She's a certified public accountant. She's the president of Development Advisory Group Philippines. She graduated from UP Diliman with a business administration and accountancy degree. Sorry about that. So the Development Advisory Group Philippines, it's a team of experts with deep regional and national experience in business, public policy, and research in Mindanao. She's an Islamic finance professional with 10 years of experience in accounting, compliance, Islamic banking, finance, and strategic management. She is a certified public accountant and has exposure in the assurance services as a former senior associate from the SGV and Company, as well as head of accounting and finance department for Al Amana Islamic Investment Bank of the Philippines. Mahar has been involved in various policy and planning interventions for product development and Islamic finance in the Philippines, having served as consultant for the World Bank, UNDP, Mindanao Development Authority, the National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation, and ASA Philippines Foundation. So she graduated with a degree in business administration and accountancy from UP Diliman and obtained her master's in investment banking and Islamic finance from the Henley Business School, University of Reading in United Kingdom, under the prestigious Chevening Scholarship Program. So medyo pasensya na, I had to read that out. It's quite long. So we'll be turning the floor over in a short while to Miss Maharlika. No? So we can call her Mahar. So, but before that, we'd like to go around the room here in our Zoom web conference. We just want to know, or we would just like to introduce a few of you. So anyone who would like to volunteer, please just turn on your mic, turn on your video, and give a brief introduction of yourself and share some expectations that you might have for the next few hours. We invite anyone here in the call. I called him earlier, so I'll start with Press BJ Banzon. Press BJ
Hi.
Banzon, are you there? Yeah, hi. So Press BJ Banzon is the current president of our partner organization, JCI Bataan. Sir, please introduce
Hello,
yourself.
everyone. Thank you for attending this webinar. I'd like to thank the City Government of Balanga for organizing this, as well as Department of Trade and Industry. Thank you for making JCI Bataan your partner in this endeavor. So I'm looking forward to this activity. Looking forward to an afternoon of learning with you all. Thank you to Maharlika for thank you in advance to Maharlika for sharing her knowledge with us. Hopefully, we can use the learnings we get from this afternoon to apply it in our businesses. Sige, thank you.
Thank you, Press BJ. Who would like to go next? How about Miss Alma? Miss Alma Tatel? Can I turn on your mic?
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon po.
Kamusta po kayo? Can you share with us po what your business is?
Printing services po.
Printing services po.
Sa Pilar.
Sa Pilar, wow. Welcome po
Ayun.
to our webinar.
Hope na matulungan kami, lalo na yung sa panahon ngayon na talagang walang pasok na trabaho. So sana sa pamamagitan ng nito, kahit papaano, mabigyan kami ng magandang pananaw or parang pag-asa. Hello.
Of course, ma'am. So we're here to help you po. Hopefully we can ma-inspire po kayo sa ating mga sessions na yung dito sa DTI SMERA or SME Roving Academy. Baka mabigyan po tayo ng mga ideas ng paano nga po natin maayos ang ating negosyo at saka of course to help us in our return from this pandemic. Hopefully makatulong po kami. Thank you again, ma'am, for trusting us and for being here today. Please take down notes. Thank you po, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay.
Sir Jonathan, are you there?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for all the organizers of this webinar. This is my second webinar of SMERA. My name is Jonathan O'Connor. I am the owner of Jana's Homemade Food Products here in Mal, Bataan. We are the makers of unique products like shameless advertisement na po. Homemade chunky pesto sauce.
Pesto sauce. Oh, I think I tried that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Tama.
Best seller namin. Then we also have the green chili sauce Thai style. Perfect for your Thai dishes for seafood. We also have the pickled green chili for all the meats, sa mga wraps, shawarma, ganyan, nachos. we also have the pickled mango, kaso wala ako ngayon. And we also have ang latest product, salted egg shrimp. Pero sa ngayon wala pa rin. Yung ibang products ko available now on Shopee. Kapuput up ko lang. Pero yung ibang products pa lang din ang meron kasi nga kakatapos pa lang, kaka-GCQ pa lang. So medyo nagsisimula pa lang din na gumawa ng production. Saka tinatry ko pa lang din ng Shopee. With this webinar, I am hoping na may apply ko ito sa business kasi medyo challenging talaga para sa akin. And I guess sa lahat ng mga business owners ang accounting side of the business. Thank you so much again for all the organizers.
Thank you, Sir Jonathan, for trusting us. No? So definitely marami pong nakakalimot talaga ng accounting. Marami po akong nakakausap na negosyante na pinapaubaya nila ang kanilang accounting sa accountant o sa bookkeeper. Pero tayo bilang mga entrepreneur po, we need to take command of our business. So hopefully, this will improve our financial literacy para nga po mapaganda ang ating takbo ng ating negosyo. At alam na po natin, pagdating po sa pera, madami po naloloko. No? Kailangan po natin na ma-improve ang ating skill sa ating bookkeeping and accounting. Kaya po, maraming salamat, sir. And I'll look for your products on Shopee.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else? How about Miss Sansu?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am.
I am the representative of Oxford Rice Bataan.
Sorry, ma'am. You have to speak a bit louder.
Hello. Narinig na po.
Medyo mahina lang po, ma'am.
Hindi na po kasi ako nakita. Bali, ako po yung representative ng Oxford Rice Bataan.
Koopo.
Oxford Rice Bataan. Cooperative ng mga member ng Oxford Rice.
CFC. Okay. Welcome po. Welcome to the call po.
Regarding po dito sa webinar, na to, sa GC po namin. Curious lang po ako dun sa maaari ko pong karagdagan na matututunan para po dito sa accounting equation.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. So, hopefully, definitely po, marami tayong matututunan na yung tungkol sa accounting na magagamit po natin sa ating negosyo. So, I think we'll try to do something po, no? We're going to go to menti.com. And all you have to do is actually, wait. Liza, can you guys see the screen? So, in-invite ko lang po kayo pumunta sa menti.com sa
Yes, we
inyong browser.
We can see it, sir.
Okay, so just go to menti.com. When you click on the website, hihingi po yan ng code. Doon po sa code, sulat po natin 506532. Tapos sagutin po natin tong question. What do you think of when you hear the word accounting?
What's the code again, sir?
506532.
So for everyone's sake, it will be put din po dun sa ating chat room. That's 506532.
Thank you, Edmer. So, menti.com, you can enter your response there. And makikita po natin, I hope it works. No? Makikita po natin ang inyong mga responses dito sa ating screen right now. So when you enter menti.com, ang una pong lalabas dyan is please enter the code. So you just type in 506532 and you hit submit. Once you hit submit, you will see the question. What do you think of when you hear the word accounting? So, ayan po, nakikita natin ang mga sagot. So, pag mas marami pong sagot for a certain word, mas malaki po yung makikita nating word dyan. Yung itsura po niya mas malaki. So na yun, I think we see different entries already. So we see sales, we see money, number analyzation. Pag-check kung nalulugi. But definitely money is big, numbers. Yan. Oh, it's hard. Yes. But it can be learned. Because it says there, you need to learn this. Yes, you do need to learn it. Ang ating balance sheet. So for balance sheet, there will be a more in-depth program for that by Mahar on Friday. So please make sure you join us also for that. Money, numbers, sales. So let's try to get as many participants to respond. We have 11 attendees right now who have responded. Pero for that 11, numbers and money is definitely big on their minds when it comes to accounting. Exciting! Wow! Sino kaya yan? Taas kamay mamaya. Who finds accounting exciting? Equation, accountant, problems. Oh, may naglagay ng problems. Journal. Yes, bookkeeping. It's a facet, definitely. It's part and parcel of doing accounting. Anyone else wants to submit? Just please submit. We'll end it in a few moments. So we have 13 responses now. Pag-check kung nalulugi. I think I mentioned it earlier, no? Kasi marami pong nag-enter into business. They give the responsibility of finance and accounting. Pinapasa nila, kung hindi sa outsider, pwede naman kamag-anak or pwede naman sa someone close to them to do the accounting. Pero parang ang nangyayari po dyan, pinapabasa nyo yung inyong libro sa ibang tao. So kahit kung kayo po ang MSME, kayo po ang entrepreneur, kayo po yung owner, mas mainam, mas nakakabuti kung kayo mismo naiintindihan ninyo ang inyong sariling performance ng inyong negosyo. So yan nga po, pag-check kung nalulugi. Pero kung pinapasa mo yan sa ibang tao, sasabihin man natin, hindi naman lahat ng ating nakukuha ang accountant ay kaibigan or pabor din sa atin, ay makasabihin sa'yo, hindi ka nalulugi. Pero in reality, you might not be seeing the real picture. So it's better if you know how to view your balance sheet, you know how your cash position is, you know how much you need or how much of a gap you have in your business in order to fix it. And right now, we need a lot of fixing na yun po sa ating pandemic. Ito na experience natin na pandemic. So thank you. We have 15 responses. I think this gives Mahar enough guidance of what people are expecting in the next few hours. So they're thinking of money, numbers, sales, profit. But money and numbers is definitely, I think, quite challenging for a lot of us who are not so inclined to math and doing numbers. That becomes a big hindrance to learn accounting. Kaya po, may nagsabi pa dito, kailangan we need to learn this. So thank you for participating in that small exercise. So now, I think without further ado, I'm going to turn the floor over to our speaker. So, Ms. Mahar, you can already share your screen and then you can turn on your mic, ma'am. So again, let's welcome Ms. Mahar and thank you, everyone.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Wait, let me just fix this. Ayan, okay. So, natuwa naman ako. Can everybody hear? Can you hear me clear, Carrie? Okay naman.
We can hear you, ma'am. We can hear you, ma'am.
Yeah, we can
Okay.
hear you. We can hear you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Natuwa naman ako doon sa may nagsabing exciting. Sana nga. Before I went to college, ang iniisip ko nga, parang pag sinabi mong accounting, mahirap siya. But in the years that I studied it, actually, parang basic arithmetic lang. It's how you understand and analyze. It's more of the bigger picture talaga when it comes to understanding accounting. So for today, I'll be joining the webinar series ng Rowing Academy for today and on Friday. So ngayon yung parang first part actually. So next, this coming Friday, the next session will be more of understanding the financial statements. But it's good that we start with the bedrock. Ito yung, ang accounting equation kasi siya yung pinaka-bedrock of the entire understanding of what accounting is. No? So let me start with my presentation outline. So definitely, we'll talk about what accounting is. Tapos, pag-uusapan natin ano ba yung specific areas ng accounting. Kasi ang pagkakaintindi natin sa accounting, very broad. Yung kanina may nagsabi financial statements, journals, sales, profit. But will everything that you mentioned there pertain to a particular area lang ba ng accounting? Kasi malalaman natin may specific areas pala ito. Tapos may particular gamit siya per area. So another part of the presentation is also the uses of accounting. Who uses accounting information? And then before we move on to understanding really the accounting equation, let's look at the basic assumption and principles regarding accounting. Kasi malawak siya. Yun nga, madaming area. So para maintindihan natin, because this particular session is also for catered for our MSMEs, hindi natin pupuntahan yung area of accounting na medyo complicated like the conglomerates or the big corporations, yung may mga derivatives. It's still part of accounting, but mas maganda because this is the baseline, dito natin umpisahan sa mga principles niya. So when we talk about accounting equation, we'll talk about obviously the definitions of the components ng accounting equation natin, tsaka yung examples niya, what are the examples of the component accounts, no? Tapos ang pinaka gusto ko dito, kasi kanina napag-usapan natin when you were asked, no, the participants were asked, ano yung gusto niyong expectations when we have this session today. So ang top of mind natin ngayon is kita, especially with the pandemic, no? Pag nakita natin yung accounting equation, makikita natin doon, it's basically balance sheet accounts. But will profit, revenues, expenses have an impact on that? So saan pumapasok yun? Kaya nilagay natin yung owner's equity. Kasi doon siya pumapasok later on. And then definitely we'll look at very simple financial transaction examples para madugtong natin yung understanding natin into very practical examples. And definitely, pag pinag-usapan natin yung accounting equation, hindi pwedeng pag-usapan ng walang debit credit. Nasulat din kanina yung expectation natin. Pag sinabi natin accounting, sinulat doon yung debit credit. Kasama din dyan yung T accounts natin. And then lastly, I'll give pahapyaw lang na examples ng financial statements kung saan pumapasok yung mga accounts na pinag-usapan natin. Tsaka kung saan visually nire-represent yung accounting equation. Okay? So I'll move to the next slide. Tinanong na to kanina ni Kerry what comes to mind when we talk about accounting? What comes to mind, it's really an expectation of accounting being really about measurement and computation. So kanina yung kita, the profit, the sales that you mentioned, it's also measurement, no? That's also computation. So broadly, when we mention accounting, it's really measurement and computation na expectation. So we understand accounting to represent financial transactions in the business. Tapos, ang pinag-uusapan natin na significant process dito on understanding accounting, ang hindi siya, it's very basic that it won't differ between industries, kung anumang size yung negosyo mo, ang understanding ng accounting pareho. Nagiging komplikado lang siya dahil lumalaki yung negosyo mo, the accounts that you're going to use. But the whole process of accounting remains the same. So when we talk about accounting, definitely we talk about recording and organizing of financial information. So generally, recording and organizing siya. So when you purchase, for example, yung negosyo ng pesto sauce kanina na present ni Sir, pag nag-purchase ka ng raw materials mo for that particular business, may purchase transaction ka. So, ina-account mo yon yung binili mo. At the end of the period, month, you're expected na yung transactions mo for the entire month na summarize at na-organize mo. Yung buong proseso na yun actually is already accounting. So, another definition when you mention accounting is that it's an information system. So, pag sinabi natin information system, it's designed to collect, process yan, measurement, and present information. So, ang accounting lang, ito yung parang information system for business operations, no? Ano ang pagkakaintindi natin sa accounting generally pag sinabi natin accounting? For the Philippines, ang pansin ko, it's really financial accounting. And it brings me to the last point, no, that accounting is really communication of general purpose financial statements. Kanina, ang unang nag-pop up doon sa what expectation of accounting is, no, what do you understand when we say accounting is balance sheet, no, income statement yan. Yun yung general understanding natin. Pag sinabing accounting, nag-equate siya kaagad dun sa general purpose financial statements. So bakit siya general purpose? Mamaya, i-mention natin kung bakit siya general purpose. So since we mentioned na accounting pertains to communicating financial statements or reports, accounting is definitely ang tagline ng accounting all over the world. It is the language of business. And like any other language, you have to understand it to be able to gain some form of benefit. So, syempre una, you have to understand yung business mo tsaka yung operations mo. Accounting will enable that. You know, you also communicate outcomes that will enable analysis of your business. And then ultimately, ang accounting magbibigay ng story sa atin kung papaano yung negosyo mo, kung naiintindihan mo siya, kung papaano mo mapapalago yung negosyo mo, if you're an external user of the financial statement, for example, if you have investors, if you have creditors, lahat ng mga yan will get some form of information from the accounting that you made of your business, which translated into your financial statements, no? So, ayan, ako particularly ang accounting, maganda pag nag-summarize ka, na-journal mo lahat, na organize mo yung accounts mo. Pero pag wala kang report at the end of the day, regardless if it's an audited FS or not, just a particular report na magagamit mo for yourself, kung wala yun, wala itong part ng communication or presenting of financial data. And I think that is really the objective of accounting. So, bakit critical si accounting para sa kahit anong negosyo? Definitely, kung sino yung may information, siya yung mas informed decision maker, no? Sinasabi palagi, in any industry, information is gold. The more information you have, the better your decision making will be. Because mas madami kang basis nung magiging decision mo. So, accounting plays a crucial role in that. Accounting also paints the current financial health of the business. Paano ka magdedesisyon kung wala kang pagkakaintindi nung negosyo mo? And accounting, if you have a particular output or report after your period, your operating cycle or a particular operating period, yun yung magbibigay sa'yo ng idea na, are you liquid, for example? Kumita ka ba? I think that is the most basic output na hinahanap natin. Kumita ba ako? Hindi porket may na-receive ka na cash, does it rebound to you actually really earning? Nag-net income ka ba? Accounting is also critical because, as I said, it's decision making. So, for any negosyo, what is your vision when you go into business? You want to expand. Growth naman talaga ang palaging gusto ng isang negosyante, no? Even if you say you've been in the business for 10 years, ang ideal is to move beyond whatever production line you have now, or volume-wise, gusto mo damihan yon. So if you're not able to account for your financial health, hindi mo alam kung kumikita yung negosyo mo, paano mo malalaman if you're ripe for expansion or for growth? For example, can you afford to get a loan? Kung hindi mo alam na, 3 years pala, every year I have 10% growth every year. So kaya ko na siguro kasi parang historically mukhang maganda talaga tong market na napasukan ko. Another thing is direction, for example, or investment. You have too many cash. Ang sales mo ng cash mataas. So, syempre ayaw natin na yung pera natin natutulog lang. Pag binangko mo lang yan, how much you earn? So, you have an avenue for an investment opportunity. For example, pwede mong yung katabi mong negosyo, sa tingin mo kung gusto mo mag-expand, pwede ka mag-invest sa kanya kasi complementary sa negosyo mo. Or yung supplier mo, for example, sa tingin mo maganda yung value chain na yon, pwede ka mag-invest doon. But before you actually go into that, you have to understand your business, no? On the other hand, kung ang accounting wala din, hindi mo gamay yung at least accounting ng negosyo mo, hindi mo malalaman kung anong expenses yung nakakasama pala sa negosyo mo. Or for example, ano yung expenses na pwede mo i-forgo. For example, yan, minention, downsizing. Ito, especially now during the pandemic, no, I think it's very clear na itong particular strategy na to na pag-aralan, and the accounting records will show na talagang there is a need for this, no? Or for example, if you have too many professional services, pwede kang mag-subcontract kasi wala ka ng tao ngayon, but you don't want to lose that particular service to the public. Pwede mo tignan yung subcontracting mo. So you do your computations kung tama ba na pwede or hindi. Lahat yan, yung strategies na gusto niyo sa negosyo niyo, hindi niyo siya mapag-aaralan ng maayos kung wala yung accounting. So these are the critical issues, no, when we talk about, these are the issues that we find critical when we talk about business as compared to yung ibang magiging reasons, no, for accounting. Mamaya kasi pinag-usapan natin financial accounting. Mamaya kasi makikita niyo yung other areas of accounting. Yun naman yung ibang reasons kung bakit kailangan nilang mag-accounting. So ayan, I mentioned what are the specific areas of accounting. Una, we've already done this, no? This is financial accounting, which is really general purpose financial statement. So ang pinaka-outcome nito is for you to produce your balance sheet, income statement, owner's equity, cash flows. And then we also have management accounting, which is an internal accounting system, no? So largely on forecasting, financial evaluation, financial analysis. Ang gumagamit nito are our internal users. So management largely. Ito na yung mga business decisions, yung nagpa-planning sa mga kumpanya, ito talaga yung ginagamit nila to look at it. The output of management accounting is usually available for public kasi ano na yan may industry outlook, may financial analysis na sila on the company, yung strategies nila, nalagyan na nila ng figures yon. So hindi talaga siya available for external users. Unlike financial accounting, kaya siya general purpose kasi it's made available to the public. So another area of accounting is cost accounting. Actually, this is a subset of management accounting, but ang cost accounting, ito yung mas particular for manufacturing tsaka industrial na operations, no? So you talk about pricing, you talk about variances, for example, yung what are fixed costs versus your variable costs. So makto ba yung finorcast yung management accounting dun sa naging actual cost mo of a particular batch of production. So that's a specific area. So it becomes critical kung ang company mo is really doing manufacturing, no? Another area of accounting is government accounting. I think nagulat ako when I became consultant to my first government client, no? Kasi iba pala yung accounting nila of their process, tsaka yung pag-examine ng record sa kanila. So basically, government accounting is examination ng financial records ng government agencies. And it highly involves fund accounting because fund accounting naman is a transparency tool na tinitignan niya yung allocation ng budget, especially kung ang government agency kumukuha talaga ng budget from the government. Tinitignan niya kung tama ba yung allocation nito, kung tama yung paggamit, kung lahat ng supporting process dun sa paggamit niya ng fund is in place. So in government kasi you can't just make a decision based on your office alone. For example, there are particular regulation and memo that you need to look at na galing DBM, galing SEC. Ito yung mga ito yung intricacies ng government accounting na hindi masyadong nakikita. Kasi madami siyang regulations na tinitignan. So that's another use. And then definitely, we look at tax accounting. Kanina, napag-usapan pag sinabing accounting, taxes. Tama. Ang specific area for accounting is tax accounting, which includes tax planning. Yung mga malalaking companies kasi, kahit konting change nila of their strategy or their operations, malaki yung impact sa tax nila. So will their income tax balloon or will they have particular tax relief na makukuha pag ito yung kinuha nila? Yung place of production nila, kung nilipat nila yung particular production into one area, for example, baka mas konti yung tax doon. So may specific area for tax talaga, especially for big companies. For MSME, hindi masyado kasi ang tinitignan lang naman natin really is our net income. Yun lang naman yung tinitignan natin when it comes to compliance for taxation. So these are the specific areas that you have for accounting. Sino yung gumagamit ng accounting information? Definitely, internal user. So, management or yung nagmamay-ari. Gusto mong intindihin kung ano yung negosyo mo, you are a user of accounting information. For the big companies, you have shareholders. Yung mga nagmamay-ari. Gusto mo kita yung pera ba na in-invest ko sa corporation na to, kumikita ba? If they have a financial statement, I would like to see kung yung probability na lumago siya or ano yung additional risk na na-identify nung company for the subsequent periods na probable, gusto ko din makita. So those are also accounting information because accounting information also deals with estimates and judgments. Lahat yun, nakapaloob yun sa financial statements actually. Tapos another internal user of accounting information is the employee. Kung ako employee, kahit hindi ko nabasahin yung buong financial statement nung company ko yung ng employer ko, gusto ko malaman kumita ba kami. Kasi baka walang bonus. Diba? These are particular uses ng accounting information other than the management. No? So accounting information for internal users is really about making decisions for the company. Kasi especially for management, no? Ginagawa mo, you're part of that company. Another user, obviously, kung may internal, may external stakeholders. So, investors. Kung may pera ka, anong gusto mong tignan na industriya or na company na pag-investan mo, the way for you to know this company if it merits your investment is accounting information. No? So, most likely it's financial statement. Creditors, pag nag-loan ka sa bangko, for example, gusto nila malaman, ano yun basic yung financial statements na hinihingi. But more than that, I think they want the historical, no? Historical performance mo, liquidity ng company mo. So, regulatory agencies, government, they'd be very interested in your accounting information. BIR, isa yun. Gusto nila malaman, kumita ba to? Pwede bang magbayad to ng buwis? Regulatory agencies, other than the tax authorities, would also be interested because sometimes they look at the impact of your business to the public good. tama ba yung mga nakasaad dito. Lumalaki siya, sinasabi ng company na to, lumalaki siya, pero yung financial statements niya, for example, say otherwise, no? So how about the employees na kinukuha niya? Your competitors definitely would want to see if kumikita ka, if nag-expand ka, or saan ka nag-expand. Ito ba yung mga stakeholders sa labas ng company na gusto din umintindi ng information na meron yung kumpanya na yun or yung negosyo na yun. So those are the users, no? So sino yung magamit? So I mentioned kanina na ang accounting na pag-uusapan talaga natin when we talk about accounting equation is really on geared towards the drafting of your general purpose financial statements. And because it's general purpose, it's really for the general public, pangkalahatan. So, para maintindihan yung accounting information na yun, yung financial statements mo, meron dapat principles and standards in place para yung information mo is reliable, verifiable, lahat yun, no? So it has to be understood by the general public. And ang sinabi natin kanina, it has to give information. So para maging accurate tsaka timely yung information na yun, meron tayong mga accounting principles na tinitingnan, no? So when you read financial statement, alam mo, yung financial statement na to, ni Company A, tsaka yung financial statement ni Company B, yung accounting principles na ginamit to draft all of them would probably be the same. So first principle, actually this is not a principle, it's more of an assumption, yung entity concept na yan. Pag pinag-usapan kasi natin yung accounting information, dapat nakahiwalay yung business enterprise, yung perspective mo ng pag-intindi doon sa negosyo, dapat hiwalay doon sa may-ari tsaka sa ibang stakeholders. So, for example, if we talk about, let's say, San Miguel. When you talk about San Miguel, you have to understand that you look at the assets of San Miguel, the revenues of San Miguel, separate from the influence of its largest shareholder, which is Mr. Ramon Ang, for example, no? So, hindi mo iniisip na pag San Miguel, pera ni Ramon Ang lang yun, or kakayahan or influence lang ni Ramon Ang. So that's the entity concept. This is particularly hard for MSMEs na nagsusole proprietorship kasi unlimited liability ang sole proprietorship when it comes to legal concerns, no? But when you talk about accounting, especially for recording, dapat hiwalay. So it's an assumption that when you talk about Maharlika Alonto, the entity, it's separate from me and my personal transactions. Yun lang yun. Another principle is objectivity or arm's length, no? So lahat ng information na ni-record mo, sinamarize mo, at present mo should be based on actual operations ng business. That's why it has to be objective. Why should it be objective? Because your information, because it's available for the general public, or it's it should be understood by anyone, dapat reliable. Kung hindi objective, hindi nagiging reliable yon, hindi nagiging verifiable. So for example, pag sinabi mo dun sa financial statements mo, may loans payable ka. Me as a reader, what will I expect? Na meron ka talagang loan. How will I know if you have a loan? Pag in-audit ka or pag tinignan yung papeles mo, yung records mo, meron kang term sheet galing sa bangko, meron kang probably a promissory note, and then meron kang periodic payments of that particular obligation, no? Tapos dito yung sinasabing arm's length. Ang arm's length, ang idea nito is anyone in that same business transaction, buyer and seller, they will act in their own interests na walang pagkaka-impluwensya ng anyone. So any buyer or seller who comes to, for example, any buyer who comes into this market to purchase an asset will have the same process, will have the same experience. Baga parang walang palakasan or there's no other influence that will affect it or influence that particular transaction. Yun dapat yung prinsipyo na tinitignan natin. Kaya yung paglagay mo ng information, pag-record mo ng information mo, tsaka pag-measure mo, dapat arm's length. No? Anyone who wants to purchase this underwent the same process, similar process. So that's objectivity. Another principle is cost principle. Lahat ng financial transactions natin is dapat may economic value. Kasi paano mo nga siya naman marirecord kung wala siyang particular economic value? And then when we talk about financial statements, ang cost principle talaga na pinag-uusapan. When we say cost here, it's really historical cost. No? It's the actual cost. Hindi siya appraised value, hindi siya expected cost. Mamaya sasabihin natin kung bakit historical. So, for example, meron akong bakery. Tapos, bumili ako ng equipment na 30,000 ang bayad ko. I will be, anyone who will look at my accounting records or ako na may-ari, ang i-record ko, nabili ko siya at 30,000. Pero paano, for example, if that particular asset was 50,000 in the market, nag-discount siya, kaya ko siya nakuha at 30,000. Should I be recording my equipment at 50,000 or 30,000? So definitely, hindi ko i-record doon sa 50 kasi hindi naman siya yung actual cost eh. Ang cost principle kasi ito yung pinaka lumabas sa'yo na benefit, no? Yung binayad mo, for example. Hindi yung pwede mong pagbenta na amount or yung retail price na original. So, kung ano lang talaga yung cost na, kung ano yung value na kinompromise mo, yun yung pinaka dapat na re-record natin. So, this will also include, for example, if it's a cost, kung historical cost na yan, cost ng asset, cost ng delivery ng pagbili mo, lahat yan kasama siya. Another principle is, when you record your financial transactions, dapat accrual basis, no? Kasi ang transactions na yan are incurred regardless of cash flow. So, kung accrual, hindi cash basis. Meaning, kung kumita ngayon, pero ang bayad niya in 2 months, for example, haba naman ng 2 months. Pero, for example, end of the month na tayo ngayon, tapos inabutan siya ng end of the month, next month pa magbabayad si customer sa'yo. For the month na sales mo, dapat kasama na yon. Hindi mo siya i-record dun pa sa susunod na buwan. And that also is reflective of expenses, for example. So, kung every month, kung may mga employees kayo, every month meron tayong premium contributions for our employees, hindi naman pwede kung kailan ka nagbabayad, doon ka nagre-record. Dapat kung ano yung operating period na meron kang particular benta, lahat din nung kadugtong niya na expenses, doon mo din i-record sa period na yun. So, another accounting principle is going concern. So, this is more of the financial statements, no? Pag naggawa ka ng financial statements or binabasa mo yung financial statements, ang expectation mo is that in the foreseeable, at least in the next fiscal period, yung next na accounting period niya, nandun pa rin yung nag-ooperate pa rin yung negosyo na yan in the normal course. This is in line, so it can still be utilized in its intended purpose. Hindi ka nagle-liquidate to any reason, bankruptcy or whatever. No? This is in line with yung cost principle natin kanina. Sabi natin, mag-record tayo at historical cost kasi going concern siya. Kasi kung hindi going concern, ano ibig sabihin nun? Meaning, you're going out of business. Pag nalugi ka na at niliquidate mo na yung negosyo mo, di ba may mga assets ka, would you still be recording your asset at historical cost or doon na sa appraisal value? Doon na sa appraisal value kasi pag niliquidate mo siya, yung actual naman na makukuha mong benefit, no, from liquidation is not naman based on your historical cost. It's based on the appraised value or the market value. For example, lupa. Ay, hindi, lupa kasi hindi nag-depreciate. Building, nag-depreciate. Fully depreciated na yung building ko. So, does it mean na pag if I go out of business, hindi ko na siya pwedeng mapagkakakitaan? Kasi yung economic value niya sa libro ko, wala na eh, zero na. But that might not be the case. Most likely, meron ka pa talagang nakukuha from there. So, yung historical, yung cost principle tsaka yung going concern ng mga prinsipyo, it goes hand in hand together. Lastly, when you talk about accounting information, you also have to assume that the monetary unit that you use, yung currency, for us, it's a Philippine peso, that they're measured in stable monetary units. At the same time, no, ang intindi dyan na usually ang financial statements, they are presented at least 2 years, except for your initial year of operation. So pag 2 years, kahit na sabihin mong nag-change na yung inflation or whatever, no, the value of the previous years is not anymore equal to the monetary units that you have now, hindi mo babaguhin na yung nakaraan na financial statements or records mo. As is na yon. Kasi ito nga yung yung understanding na whatever currency you use is comparable to other currencies because it is stable. So therefore, it being stable, mas reliable, no? Na may measure mo siya ng maayos. Okay. So this is the accounting equation. Assets equal your liabilities and owner's equity. Ito talaga yung pinaka-visual representation natin ng balance sheet actually. One of the component financial statements natin. So when we talk about the accounting equation, kailangan balance yung left and right. Doon sa left side is the asset, no? So ito yung ari-arian, what the business controls or owns. But is it really about control or is it really about ownership? Mamaya. So sa negosyo, ito yung economic resources mo. Ito yung nagagamit mo to earn, no? Para kumita. So if you have cash, nabibili mo ito raw materials. If you have raw materials, may nabibenta ka. And then the other side of the equation are the fund sources nung mga assets mo. So these are how the resources are acquired. You know, these are claims to your assets. So kung may cash ako, it's either nautang ko sa bangko or some other obligation, or it is contributed by the owners, no? So contribution ko as an owner. So they are claims to the asset, the left side. Okay. So ito na yung pinakabuod natin. So let's go to assets. I'm giving you pala, when we talk about assets, liabilities, equity, revenue and expenses, the definitions that I will give you are based on IASB framework. This is the International Accounting Standards Board, no? Globally, ito yung grupo na nag-create ng framework na sila yung nagbigay ng mga prinsipyo na in-explain natin kanina. At the same time, the definitions that you have here are also based on that framework. So, for example, assets, ang sinasabi natin, pagkakaintindi natin una pag assets is we own it. But actually, the definition is resources controlled by the entity as a result of past events and from which future economic benefits are expected to flow. Meaning, magagamit mo to gain something, no? So, yun, nagbebenta ka. So, you gain income. So, as I mentioned, assets talk about control rather than ownership. Bakit? Because there are particular assets na pwedeng hindi mo pa pagmamay-ari but the economic benefits, ikaw na yung gumagamit, no? So, for example, finance lease. May-ari ako ng fleet ng taxi pero nakautang yun sa bangko. Under a finance lease program, ang ownership nun, hindi naman ibibigay sa akin dun sa pagkuha ko sa unit nagiging sayo yan after you pay the last amortization, tama. So, but you have control kasi ikaw na gumagamit, nasa iyo na lahat. Pwede mo siyang gamitin in whatever form you need. So, you have control of it but you don't have legal ownership. Yun. So apart from control, you're expecting inflow of benefits, no? Probable, meaning meron kang asset na yan, meron kang paggagamitan to get something out of it in return. So usually, it should be expected to give you some form of revenue or sales. And then yung economic value na makukuha mo should be reliable, measured reliably. Palagi, pag pinag-usapan natin accounting, palaging about measurement. So kahit nasabihin mong may control ka pero hindi mo alam how much it costs, then you cannot also account for it. Hindi mo mai-record yun. So what are the examples of assets? Cash on hand or cash in the bank. Ng negosyo hindi yung sayo. So pag sinabing cash in bank, dapat under the name of your negosyo, no? You also have accounts receivable. Ito yung mga utang ng mga customers sa inyo na usually short term, babayaran after 7 days, after 30 days, yan, accounts receivable. Notes or note receivable naman, if usually may written note, pwedeng long term, pwedeng short term din yung receivable na yung may kasulatan talaga na may utang siya sa'yo. So another example, especially for those who are manufacturing products, no, it's really inventory. So you have an inventory account for your raw materials. Tapos pag na-finish product mo yun, usually may finished goods ka na inventory. Yun yung binibenta mo. Part na din siguro dyan yung supplies. Investment accounts, these are other forms of assets na hindi siya necessary part ng operating cycle mo. So for example, malaki na yung cash mo. Bumili ka ng government treasury bills, yan. Investment mo yan. Investment na negosyo mo yan. Kung ang ginamit mong to purchase the investment is your part of your part of the entity. Ngayon, madaming transform ng negosyo nila to delivery services, for example. So pag tinignan mo yung financial records nila, usually you'd see properties and equipment. So properties, land, building, yan. Equipment, delivery equipment, tools and machineries that you have used, furniture and fixtures, for example, yung tables, yan. Yung cubicle sa admin office na negosyo mo, yan, kasama yan siya dun sa equipment. Intangibles is also an asset. For example, if you have a particular goodwill or trademark, yung produkto mo may trademark na. Yan, may useful life yan eh. For example, in 5 years, yung trademark sa'yo. I don't really know the useful life ng mga intangibles now. But even intangibles are also considered as asset, especially if you have control. Ikaw lang yung nagmamayari nun. Ikaw lang yung pwedeng gumamit ng particular asset na yan. Okay. So the other part of the equation, ang isang component nun is liabilities. So ang liabilities daw, these are the present incurred mo na obligation ng enterprise arising from past events, the settlement of which is expected to result in an outflow of resources. Meaning, incurred na yung utang na yan or obligasyon na yan. Tapos, ang assumption is yung obligasyon na yan at utang na yan will have a claim on your assets. So, be it cash or transfer of asset, no, some other asset. So babayaran mo, yun. So current obligation and then there's a claim. Yan, most likely there's probable transfer of cash to another. So the examples of your liabilities are accounts payable. Utang mo sa suppliers mo, utilities mo, tubig, kuryente, internet, yan, mga payables mo yan. Kung gumagamit ka ng load sa cellphone, yan. Yung may line ka na kinuha for your negosyo, kasama din dyan. Those are your accounts payable, no? Loans payable, also the contributions if you have employees, yung contributions mo sa SSS, sa PhilHealth, lahat yun, pasok siya sa liabilities. Usually there's the bigger your business, the more sub-accounts you have for your accounts payable. Loans payable, utang, formal loans. So, kung may utang ka sa bangko or si DTI, kasi si SB Core ngayon may pautang siya for this particular period natin ng pandemic, yan. Kung nag-avail ka nun, pasok siya sa liabilities mo rin. Taxes payable, pasok siya sa loans payable mo kahit zero interest loan pa din yon, wala ka lang interest na binabayaran. Okay, hindi siya dole out. Kasi minsan pag sinabing zero interest, parang okay walang, meron ba nun na zero lang talaga meron. Another example for liabilities is taxes. Yehey, may tax lagi pag malaki ang kita. So if you're non-VAT, if your net income is below 250 for the year, you're likely paying nothing, no? Wala kang babayaran. Hindi likely, totoong wala kang babayaran. Pag above that, saka ka na may babayaran. Pag VAT ka naman, I think the cap is at 3 million. I'm not sure, basta ganon. Hindi naman lahat ng registered entity kailangan magbayad ng buwis kasi yung taxes payable mo usually is reflected by the performance, yung results ng negosyo mo for the year, no? Tapos accrued expenses, ito naman yung expenses na, di ba sabi natin kanina, ang accounting largely accrual basis. Ito yung estimate mo na liability mo at a certain cut-off or a certain period na babayaran mo in the next particular month, for example. So, dito usually ina-accrue mo. Di mo pa alam yung utilities mo for the month kasi usually ang billing dumadating every 5th of the following month, no? But you already know more or less how much your bill will be for the month based on your previous actual bill, yung mga actual na nabayaran mo. So pwede mo i-accrue yun for the particular period just for you to know na itong month na to, pasok lahat yung expenses mo. So as I said, pag accrual, hindi siya cash basis, meaning ang bayad is not in the same period. Okay, equity. For me, ito yung pinakamagandang portion kasi ng accounting equation eh. Ang definition niya really is more of residual interest, no? Asset minus liability, equity na kagad yan. So, on top of mind, pag sinabi nating owner's equity, is really the capital. So, ito yung in-invest ng mga may-ari. Ito yung kinontribute nila na capital dun sa negosyo. So, definitely, it's what the business naman owes the owner. So, kung corporation yan, kung yung shareholders, ito yung amount ng money that the owners have a claim dun sa business entity, no? So over time, nagsisimula itong equity kasi as purely contribution kasi you set up a business. But over time, it will include cumulative net income or losses. So dito po pasok. Kaya sabi ko maganda tignan itong equity kasi dito talaga makikita kung lumalago yung negosyo. When you talk about accounting equation, remember, walang revenue and expense dyan. Pero itong equity na to, ito na yung part ng equation na papasukan ng accounts ng income statement. Okay? So yan, let's go to what affects owner's equity. Later, I will show you the different types of business organizations and ownership para makita natin yung kung ano yung pagkakaiba, no? But if equity, I said there, it's essentially two parts. The contributed capital side, common stock if you're a corporation, but definitely when you say contributed capital, this is the investment, the initial investment, and then the withdrawal or transfer of the owners, no? Doon sa negosyo. The other part, through time, it's really the retained earnings portion. So ito na yung cumulative net income losses. Sabi ko kanina, ang equity at face, wala namang revenue and expense dyan, but actually, it's largely affected by the revenues and the expenses of the operations, no? Dividends, pagkorporasyon. So pag sole, prop, tsaka partnership, usually dito na sa revenues and expenses yung movement talaga ng cumulative net income and loss. Yeah. So based on the type of business organization, we have, I think I'm showing you 3 different types. Sorry. Ang pinaka-basic is the sole proprietorship, which is largely what our MSMEs are, no? It's the simplest business organization. Ikaw lahat. You lahat. You have undivided control, and you will also have the undivided share of your net income. Loss din, sa'yo din lahat yun. So usually yung owner, siya din yung nagmamanage. Kasi parang mahirap naman kung nagsusole prop ka. Unless if you have employees pala, sorry. Yeah. So largely when you talk about sole proprietorship, you require DTI and BIR registration. In terms of funding, no, pagpapalago ng capital base mo talaga, other than the cumulative earnings, gusto mo may mag-invest na mag-invest. Pag humingi ka ng loans, for example, no, it's largely dependent on the owner. So kahit nasabihin mong yung entity concept natin kanina na separate yung entity doon sa personal transaction ng owner, pag sole proprietorship, usually ang creditor will also look at the personal wealth, no, and capacity of the proprietor, yung owner. So that's the equity of a sole prop. Wala, siya lang talaga, one capital account. Later, the example will be sole proprietorship. The second type is a partnership. So 2 or more individuals share ownership. Usually, ito yung mga professional services, no? May partnership agreement sila. So yung earnings at the end of the period, may specific ratio sila kung paano sila maghahatian. So SEC and BIR registration, most of the time ang kailangan dito. Ang capacity, hindi lang based on one particular partner, pwedeng dependent on the credit standing of the, if all partners or several of the partners, especially yung malalaki yung share doon sa organization na yun. So for equity nito, you have partners equity na nakikita. So yung iba-ibang pangalan. Tapos yung cumulative earnings and losses din, sinishare din among the partners, no. So corporations, ito na yung pinakamalaking organizational structure, no, sa business. So if you're an owner, you have proof, and your proof is a share or stock certificate. So ang nakuha kong example dyan sa internet is Procter & Gamble. Recently, allowed na ang sole corporation. Kahit corporation ka, ikaw lang mag-isa. That's already allowed in the new corporation code. I think it was passed 2 years ago. Yung net earnings ng corporation, magde-declare yung company ng dividends. So yun yung balik sa'yo, no? And ang kagandahan lang dito sa business organization na to, yung in-invest mo na amount, pwedeng tumaas yung value. Unlike dun sa sole proprietorship, kung magkano lang in-invest mong amount, yun lang talaga yung pag-iikutan ng pera mo, no? So because most of, or the corporations as you know of, are being traded, no? Yung stocks niya, tsaka yung shares niya, umaakit siya ng value. So pwedeng binili mo at 100 pesos, after 10 years, it went up to 3,000 per share. Yon. So ang fundraising capacity naman ng corporation, kung gusto niya mag-increase yung funds niya, capital base niya, or if it wants a particular loan, for example, or financing, ang fundraising capacity niya is based on its performance. Hindi na dun sa mga shareholders, no? Hindi dun sa may-ari. So pwedeng asset-based, pwedeng how valuable the shares are in the market. So yun na yung magiging basis niya. So those are the different types of business organizations as reflected in owner's equity na part ng accounting equation natin. So let's move on to the other components of owner's equity. Kanina pag-usapan natin yung contributed capital. Ito naman yung sa cumulative net earnings or loss. Ideally earnings talaga, retained earnings. So the definition of revenues, it's gross inflow of economic benefits from the course of ordinary activities. Meaning kung ano yung usual, kung ano yung objective ng negosyo na yun, no? that result in increases in equity other than increases relating to contributions. Malinaw sa atin yun kasi naka-delineate na tayo kanina what is contributed capital from what is cumulative earnings. So we mentioned earlier, ang revenues usually are recognized on an accrual basis, na hindi siya cash basis. So examples ng revenue, sales nyo. Service fees, for example. Tapos kung may property kayo na hindi nyo ginagamit doon sa negosyo nyo, pinaparenta nyo sa iba, that is rental income. If you also have investments ng earning interest, then that becomes additional income as well in the form of interest income. So that's the other part, no? If there's revenues, meron ding expenses. So kung ang revenue inflow na economic benefit, ito naman outflow kasi decreases in economic benefits, no? That result in decreases in equity other than relating to distributions to equity participants or yung mga withdrawals, no? So just like revenue that uses accrual, your expenses are also expected to be recognized under accrual. So ang example nito, supplies expense. Yung cost ng raw materials nyo dun sa paggawa ng produkto, yan, cost of merchandise manufactured produced, salaries and wages, utilities, rent, there's also interest expenses, communication charges, marketing and advertising. At nung expenses na paggawa towards a particular revenue stream is included here. So usually yung mga expense accounts na ginagamit are the material accounts, meaning ito yung accounts na palaging ginagamit or material in amount. Material meaning sila yung mga pinakamalalaki. Pwede kayo magkaroon actually ng other income tsaka other expenses na account, ha. Minsan kasi sobrang yung isang kakilala namin, ang haba-haba ng accounts niya doon sa trial balance niya kasi lahat nilalagyan niya kahit na yung amount na yun is at 10 pesos, for example. Pwede mo nang i-lump yan into other expenses actually. So those are revenues and revenues and expenses that affect your equity account. So a short recap lang of what we've discussed so far in terms of accounting equation. We said that financial transactions recognized will always balance, no, the accounting equation. Pwedeng sa asset side lahat, nag-add ka ng asset, minus mo sa cash, which is an asset, or pwedeng from asset and then liability, asset and equity, or liability. Pero dapat yung equation na yon balanse, no? So there's no rule as to the number of accounts affected per transaction and to what side of the equation is influenced. So as I said, it can affect only one asset account. So it affects only one side of the equation. It can affect both. Pero ang pinaka-basic na understanding natin, I think, is that palaging double entry. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-account ng transaction na isang account lang. Kailangan dalawa. So ito na yung may debit and credit. Mamaya papakita natin yan. Tapos at the end of each operating period, for example, if your operating period is for a year, yung performance impact mo, yung net income or loss mo will always be recorded dun sa owner's equity account. So punta na tayo dun sa examples, no? So ito na yung pagpapakita natin kung paano ba talaga babalanse yung equation na yan. So ang example natin is si Juan. When si Juan sets up his own bakery and invests 50,000 to start his business. So ito yung pag-set up pa lang niya ng negosyo. Meron akong 50,000 invest ko. Kasi ngayon uso yung delivery ng pagkain. Masarap siya gumawa ng bread. So may savings siya na pwedeng gamitin yun 50,000. So ang recording niya, merong cash na 50,000 galing sa equity ko. Contribution ko sa negosyo na 50,000. So mathematically, balancing equation niya because he has asset of 50,000 and his equity has 50,000. Does he have liability? Wala. No. So theoretically, balance ba? Yes, kasi Sabi natin kanina, yung economic resources natin, dalawa lang pinanggagalingan niya. It's either we incur an obligation, which are your liabilities, or nag-contribute ng capital from the equity account. So, yung contribution niya gave the business yung cash na kailangan niya to set up. So, at the end of that particular transaction of setting up the business, meron siyang asset na 50, meron siyang contribution na 50, wala siyang liabilities. Okay, so next step. Si Juan, magsa-start na ng operations niya. Sabi niya, bibili ako ng equipment para dun sa bakery niya. Oven, lots of baking needs niya, no, na trays or whatever, na 15,000. So, paano yun? No? So, beginning mo, 50 yung asset mo, cash lahat. So, since bumili ka at cash na 15,000, tatanggalan mo ng 15,000 yung cash mo. But, you will record a corresponding bakery equipment for the same amount. So, ang asset mo, you have cash now of from 50, naging 35. You have equipment of 15,000. So, your total at the end of this particular financial transaction for assets is still at 50. You have zero liabilities. Ang contribution mo, hindi naman naapektuhan din. So, no effect. So your balance is still at 50. Mathematically, equation, yes, we're still balanced. Next step. Siyempre, may equipment na. Gusto mo magnegosyo, bili ka ng supplies at material. So si Juan, bumili ng supplies and ingredients niya for 10,000 in cash. So kanina, meron tayong, yung beginning balance dapat dyan pala 30, hindi, tama, 50. But your cash is 35, no? So, you deducted your 10,000 na supplies from cash na 10, pero may additional asset account ka na na-create for your supplies na 10,000. So at the end of the day, your asset side hasn't changed, no? Your cash though is now at 25K, your equipment 15K, pero may bago kang asset group, which are your inventory and supplies na 10K. So ito yung sasabi kanina na not necessary kailangan pag gumalaw si asset side, gumalaw din yung liability or equity side. Nakita nyo so far, lahat ang gumalaw is on the asset side lang. So no changes in liabilities and equity accounts. Tanong, at this point, si Juan Bakery, does he control all its assets, cash, equipment, and the inventory? Yes. Do we expect future economic benefits from cash, equipment, and inventory? Yes, kasi ito nga yung gagamitin niya for his business, generate income. So, yung definition ng asset, kahit balikan nyo, pasok na pasok pa rin siya dito. So, the next scenario, si Juan nag-bake na. Tapos, nakapagbenta na siya ng first batch niya ng bread na worth 7,000 in cash. Yung 7,000 na yun, ginamitan niya ng inventory worth of 3,000. So, he gained cash of 7,000. Yung supplies niya from 10K, naging 7K na lang kasi ginamitan niya ng 3,000. So, essentially, ang net income niya for this particular financial transaction is 4,000 pesos. So sabi natin, yung 4,000 net income, because it's sole proprietor, goes to the owner's equity. So, ang neto ng asset niya, nag-earn siya ng 7, tinanggalan niya ng 3 yung supplies, 50K. Nagkautang ba siya dito sa equation na to? Hindi. So, 0 pa rin yung liabilities niya. Yung equity niya, yung net income niya from this particular transaction gave him 4,000. So, his equity now, contributed capital is still 50, but his cumulative earnings now increased. So from 0, naging 4,000. Kaya, ang total, ang balancing of amounts niyo on both sides now increased to 54,000. Yan. So cash is at 32K now. Yung equipment niya is still at 15. Yung inventory niya, ginamitan niya ng 3,000, naging 7. Sa other side, equity, sabi natin, naging 54. Yung liabilities niya is still at 0. So, next time, Sabi niya, gusto ko mas madaming sales ko, pero mukhang mas madaming sales pag gusto utang. So he made credit sales, no? So ilang batches ng bread ang ginawa niya, pero these are sold on credit. So he earned 15,000. Yung ginamitan niya nito is 7,000 worth of ingredients. He didn't earn cash, but pasok dito yung account ng receivable. So may accounts receivable siya ng 15,000, pero yung supplies niya, ginamit niya is worth 7,000. Ang neto nito is net income of 8,000. Yung net income, we said, goes to the cumulative earnings of equity. Kaya from 54, naging 62. Tapos yung sa liability side, 0 pa din. Yung sa asset side niya, net effect pa din of the receivable and the supply side deduction gave him 8,000. So ang total assets niya pa rin is 62K. At this point, our accounting equation is still balanced, no? So ang equity account niya, ang contribution niya is still at 50, pero ang cumulative earnings niya increased from 4,000 to 8,000, to 12,000 because he earned 8,000 from this particular credit sales. No? Yun, that's the next scenario. O pagpalagay natin, malaki na siya, 62 na siya. O, tapos biglang nagtayang, sabi ng LG barangay niya, sa'yo na lang kami kukuha ng bread na papamigay namin. So he said, oh, I need to expand. So he expanded his shop. No? So when he needed to expand, wala na siya ibang pagkukunan, umutang siya kay Small Business Corp. I don't know if this is the minimum or more than the maximum amount allowed these days, no? But pagpalagay natin, umutang siya ng 50,000 para dun sa pagpapalago ng negosyo niya, or just so that he is able to get more customers for his negosyo. Kasi laki ng opportunity na nakikita ni Juan Bakery doon sa current situation niya. So, if he got a loan, definitely nagkaroon siya ng additional cash na 50,000. So yung cash na yun, saan ba nanggaling yun? Did it come from his contribution? No, it came from loan, which is a form of liability. So ang equation mo, magbabago. You have additional cash, which increase your asset base from 62 naging 112. Yung liabilities mo ngayon, nagkalaman. Yung equity mo, for this particular transaction, didn't change, no? So it's at 62. So mathematically, it's still equal. So nagkaroon ka lang ng liabilities ngayon. So all these scenarios, actually the sunod-sunod ito na scenario ng Juan Bakery showed us how the accounting equation works, no? Yun na-mention natin kanina na hindi pwedeng isang account lang. Palaging account, dalawang account at least, no? So yun yung sinasabi nating double entry. So 2 or more accounts are affected by every transaction. Ang recording ng transaction natin is always a double entry system. So the visual representation ng double entry accounting is the T account. So ito na yung debit and credit. For every debit, there is a credit entry. So ang T account at ang double entry system, ang kino-correct niya lang lagi is entry errors. It doesn't correct accounting error. Kung mali yung dinebit mo na account, kahit nasabihin mong balance, mali talaga din, no? So it's really on the systematic recording of the financial transactions of the business. So that's double entry system. Ano yung parang normal balances? Paano na natin malalaman kung yung account na yan normal debit account or normal debit balance or credit balance? Ito na yung magdugo pag accounting yung pinag-usapan. Ito yung T account, no? So we say debit as the left side, credit yung right side. Ang usually pagkakaintindi ko na lang dito is, to explain it very simply, is that asset increases debit side, no? Decrease credit side. Liabilities and equity, nag-increase siya credit, baliktad. baliktad sa asset. So increase niya credit right side, decrease niya debit left side. Okay lang tignan yan doon sa liability tsaka sa contributed capital. Paano yung sa revenue and expenses? Since revenues or sales increase equity, ang normal increase ng equity natin is credit. So, it follows na credit din siya when it increases. No? So, when you record revenues, credit side. Ang expenses, since it decreases, whatever is whatever is on the cumulative performance result, decreases that, then therefore, it is the opposite of the revenues. Ang increase niya, debit side. So, medyo yun lang yung representation na pwede kong ibigay sa inyo ngayon. Malawak pa tong T account tsaka debit and credit, but this is the simplest parang visualization that I can give you of the use of T account as far as double entry system is concerned. So let's move to the financial statements. I think I'm still good in terms of my time, no? I'll show you examples of financial statements. Sabi natin, kaya ka nag-accounting kasi gusto mong mag-present ng data, ma-communicate yung financial health ng negosyo mo. So your financial statements will be the summary of all your financial transactions and operating results for the period. So after you recognize, after na-record mo at na-summarize mo lahat ng transaction ng negosyo, it will represent an annual or periodic balance or total. So we mentioned na yung general accounting equation of asset, liabilities, and equity accounts. Those will be reflected in the balance sheet. Yung revenues, expenses, any losses or gains will be reflected in the income statement. And then yung movement ng equity accounts, it's either the side of the contributed capital, withdrawals, or the cumulative earnings or losses will be on the side of, will be reflected in the statement of owner's equity. Tapos yung fourth, which is usually the most, I think, neglected financial statement, but tells you a lot of things, no? Among the four phases of your financial statements, yung cash flow. It is a cash movement that you have for the year. Yung pag-use up mo, tsaka yung kung saan nanggagaling yung cash inflow mo for the year, no? And then lastly, it's really an important component. Kaso dahil hindi siya tabular, no? Hindi siya numero lahat. Yung notes to financial statements is still it's very much a critical part of your set of financial statements. Without the disclosures, medyo hindi mo masyadong naiintindihan kung ano yung nakasulat na figures. So 5 yan sila. And I think at this point, it's very important to understand the interrelation between these statements. So not one statement will stand alone. Palaging meron kang, you cannot finalize one statement without any impact on the other statement. So it's not exclusive of the other component statements that you have. So let's start first with the income statement. So ang income statement is the financial statement that provides you the company's performance and operations for a defined period of time. So if your operating period is a year, ang financial statements mo is for the year, no? So summary siya lahat. So simply put, this is your statement of profit and loss. So lahat ng revenues at saka expenses mo. Ang phase ng income statement, usually for audited statements, you have your revenue, nakalista yung revenue mo. Usually interest revenue, tsaka yung karugtong niyang interest din sa expense, naka-separate account talaga yan. So yun yung sasabing finance cost. Ito yung mga required halos na, or most of the time, that has to be indicated individually in the phase of the income statement. Tapos tax expense. I think para mas madaling makita kung meron ba talagang tax payable itong company na to later on. No? So that's your income statement. Ito yung sample ko. So I got this sample from the internet. It's from businesstips.com. Now, it was credited to Mr. Abrugar. He's the he's the head of the startup digital marketing platform. So M. Santos has total revenues of 119,000. And nakita nyo, nilista niya kung saan galing yung revenue niya. So meron siyang internet. Ang assumption dito is may internet, siguro may internet shop, no? Unfortunately, parang close pa ata ngayon yan. Parang hindi pa allowed na full, or at least not full capacity during the pandemic. But this particular financial statement shows us na yung revenues niya na 119,000 galing sa dalawang sources, from internet services and from printing. And for the entity to gain 119,000, ano yung mga expenses na in-incur niya? So meron siyang salaries and wages. So may mga tao siya. May mga empleyado siya, internet and communication expenses, probably yung cost niya of his broadband, utilities niya, renta niya dun sa facility, and the other interest expense accounts, no? As I said, yung interest expense niya nakalabas. And then he has income tax expense sa baba. So in total, for the year that he operated, he earned 119,000 worth of revenue. Ang total expenses niya is at 67, and then he has income tax expense of this much. He gained net income of 51,414. So income statement. The next statement I'll show is statement of owner's equity, no? Bakit ito? Para makita natin yung interrelation na sabi ko kanina. So ang owner's equity, we said that this particular statement shows as a capital contribution of the business and then yung cumulative earnings. So i-show niya yung balance at the beginning of the equity, yung capital base, at saka yung ending. So paano dumating from beginning to ending? It's either the owner had capital investment or withdrawal, and then yung net income ng negosyo niya, no? So kung corporation, may dividends, saka movement of shares. So ito ang owner's equity ni M. Santos. Kanina sabi natin, nag-income siya, net income siya of 51,000. So it's reflected in the owner's equity. Investments niya during the year is at 300, pero nag-withdraw siya ng 25,000. So ang net increase niya is 326. Ito yung naging equity ending balance niya for the year. Why is this important? Because it shows us two things, no? Yung sa sinasabi natin interrelation. The income, net income, which is from the income statement, is also reflected here. And the ending balance of your equity account is reflected in your balance sheet naman. So let's move to the next statement, which is the balance sheet. So ito na yung pinaka-representation ng accounting equation natin, no? So it's also known as a statement of financial position. So it lists your assets, liabilities, and equity as of a specific date. Unlike the income statement, which is for a period, your balance sheet is a snapshot. So it's a picture of as of date, meaning if your operating period is 1 year, at the end of your period, usually as of December 31 of the year, if you follow the calendar year for your business operations. Walang prescribed format ang balance sheet, but kung madami kang accounts at substantial na yung operations mo, mas magandang i-delineate mo yung current sa non-current accounts. So this goes for your assets and liabilities. Current is usually within 1 year, or it's expected to be realized or settled within the operating cycle. So that's current account, no? Beyond 1 year, for example, for assets, equipment, then that has use of 3 years or more, then that becomes non-current asset. So that's your balance sheet. Ito naman yung sample ng balance sheet ng particular entity natin. So kanina nakuha na natin yung equity account niya, 'di ba? Na 326,000. Si M. Santos may cash at as of December 31 na 212. Meron siyang accounts na 60,000. May prepaid expenses siya na 71K. Probably these are the hindi inventory items, supplies na nakuha niya na nasa kanya pa, hindi niya pa nagagamit, no? And he has non-current assets he has equipment of 100,000, and then accumulated depreciation, which is a contra asset account na 1,607. Parang bago lang ata to kasi maliit yung accumulated depreciation niya. So in total, he has assets of 441,333. Ang sabi natin sa accounting equation, yung asset, kailangan total niya, liabilities and equity. Alam na natin yung equity side. Pero alam din natin yung lahat ng liabilities niya kasi nga at this particular end of period, na-account na natin lahat. So he has accrued expenses of this much. He has a loan payable of 100,000. So nakapag-loan pala siya during the year. So this is your balance sheet. Ang impact ng owner's equity mo nandito. Alam natin yung owner's equity mo, may impact siya on from the results of operations. So this is the third statement that we presented na may relation dun sa prior to. So what I want you to take note of is the cash balance of 212,000 because this particular balance will now be reflected in the cash flow statement. So ano yung cash flow? Statement of cash flows. Ito na yung pasok tsaka labas ng cash for the period. So it represents three aspects of business activities. Operating activities, yung pinaka-core na negosyo mo. Primary business activities. Investing activities, if you purchase or sold long-term assets. Kanina, nakalista doon, he has 100K na computer equipment. That's a purchase of a long-term asset. So yung outflow na yon, because we assume it's paid in cash, goes into the investing activities of his cash flow. Yung financing activities naman, ito yung funding and lending transaction. So ano yung liabilities na na-incur niya? Diba? May loan payable din siya na amount. So dito papasok yan. Mag-reflect dito that he has an inflow kasi he got a loan of 100K and then any other contribution as an owner, for example, or withdrawal also comes into the portion of financing activities. So ang statement of cash flows will represent how well the business managed its cash position, and it complements the balance sheet and the income statement. Ito yung sabi ko. So the M. Santos samples actually that I got, yung first three statements is available online. This one I made myself. Kasi wala siyang cash flow na pinakita. Bumalanse naman. Ang tagal ko na hindi gumagawa ng cash flow, bumalanse naman siya. So, ang beginning balance niya, we assume, doon based on his owner's equity is at 300 because that's a total investment he made for M. Santos. So, from 300,000, ang ending balance natin from our balance sheet, we know 212,000. So yung operating activities from our income statement, malaki yung expenses niya. Ang expenses niya is 121,000, pero yung cash na na-receive niya is at 59K. So probably, malaki yung accounts receivable niya. Kasi hindi cash yung malaki, hindi cash received from customers. Baka mas malaki yung pinautang niya kaysa doon sa cash balance, cash sales na nakuha na negosyo niya. Sa investing activities, he purchased an equipment, so 100. So net cash used for investing activities, kasi mukhang yun lang yun, is a negative, decrease of 100. Sa financing activities, alam natin na meron siyang loan. So that's additional 100,000. Pero nagbayad siya ng interest. So ina-assume natin yung interest na yun is on that particular loan. Kaya there's a decrease of that particular amount. And then nag-withdraw siya ng 25,000. So net cash in financing activities is an inflow of 74,000. So if you summarize all of this, you have a net decrease in cash of 88. From your cash balance of 300,000, your ending balance now becomes 212,000 for the year, for as of December. Ang gusto ko i-point out dito sa particular statement na to is that your cash flow will tell you how well you've managed your business, not only in terms of revenues and expenses, but also in terms of your most important asset, which is cash. Hindi mo alam, minsan kasi maliit yung nakukuha sa operating activities. Di ba sabi natin, ito yung pinaka-core. Pero dun sa investing tsaka financing, dun pa daming cash. So it might tell you na dapat mas igihan mo yung collection mo of your business from your customers if your operating activities is usually a net outflow. So yun, that's I think one critical point that we always make when we look at the cash flow statement. So to end, before we have questions, kasi malapit na, to review, the accounting equation is really the balance of how financial transactions in any business is organized. We say this regardless of industry, size, lahat yan. This accounting equation will always balance as long as your particular transaction is yun sinasabi nating double entry. So your liabilities and your contributions will be added together to give you your economic resources, which are your assets. And then we mentioned this, your accounting equation is your most basic tool of understanding accounting. And in relation to all your financial transactions in the business, you may have your three components, asset, liability, and owner's equity, but your revenue and expense accounts will also affect the equation. Kasi pasok siya, it affects your owner's equity account. And then to be recognized as a component of the equation, yung transaction mo should have economic value. If you don't know the cost, hindi mo alam paano mo siya ipapasok doon sa equation. Kasi it's a measurement tool. We always say the accounting measures and communicates. No? So I think that's it. Carrie, I think that's it for this particular session. I hope everyone is still there.
Yeah, we're still here. So we have questions actually, Mar. So thank you, Mahar. You can drink your water now. Haba ng sinabi. Thank you for that. Yeah, we learned a lot in the past hour alone. So I'll be sharing our questions, from the body.
Okay.
Thank you guys for sharing your questions. You can still submit your questions on our chat or on FB or on menti.com. So I think I give the instructions naman sa ating menti.com. So I'll share the questions now.
Okay.
Here's that. So there. Can you see the questions? So we have one question here. Pwede na single owner sa corporation, pasok ba ito sa entity concept?
Yes. Any form of business organization dapat may entity concept pa rin involved. So kahit sole corporation or sole proprietorship, pareho lang sila dapat. It still is within that principle of looking at different entities, no?
Pero pag single owned corporation, tama ba? Sole owned corporation or
sole corporation.
Yung legal liability would be different pag sole proprietorship.
It's still, yes. Mas, I think mas delineated yung sole corporation compared to a sole proprietorship. Kasi yung corporation, mas strict yung protocols niya in terms of how you establish it.
Sorry, and then we'll move on. Thanks for that, Mahar. We'll move on to this question that was asked earlier regarding no tax for those with 250,000 below annual net income. Pero sa pagkakaalam ko ay gross income yon. Paki-clarify lang. I think you must have said annual net income.
Sorry, tama. It's gross. Kasi I'm a registered micro enterprise. So I have my own practice is registered in BIR, and it is kaya lang siguro ako nagkakaroon ng tama, it's gross. It's not kasi they compute I'm non-VAT, so I use the 8% rate. So anything at gross, that 250 kasi is the threshold, no? It's a threshold that BIR gives you. So whatever gross revenues you have, gross income, they minus the 250 for the year, and then times in my case it's 8%. So that's whatever payable I have. So tama, it's not pala expense. I think sa VAT magkaka-issue. But
I think Sir Jonathan, if you're still on the call, if you want a follow-up question, you can turn on your mic. and your camera po. So yeah, si Sir Jonathan po nagtanong nun.
Okay.
So anyone who wants to raise a question, now's the time. You can turn on your mics and your videos as we go through these questions. If were not able to, kung hindi nyo po na-chat or hindi nyo na-encode yung question nyo, pwede pa rin po natin itanong sa ating live chat na yun.
Okay.
Taxable po ba ang rice business? I think any business is taxable, but
Yes.
do you have specifics or any guidance for
I
this?
think it is. Hindi ko alam kung bakit ano yung magiging issue na hindi siya, ano yung magiging relief kung hindi siya magiging taxable. Pero it is, alam ko.
Siguro if under 250,000 ang gross.
Yun lang, if yun, threshold-wise siguro yun. But as a business, I think it's still taxable, kumbaga, industry, no? Kasi trading yan ang alam ko pag rice business, you're still under trading na entity.
And for our audience, so we're trying to educate everyone who wants to go into business. If you're in business, very clear po, DTI dyan. Let's register our business po. And I think we all know that pag sa buwis po natin kinukuha ang ating mga tulong na naibibigay sa ating mga mamamayan. So that you are helping in building the nation po as MSMEs. So yun po.
Tama.
Let's register, let's pay the right taxes. We have here, how about equipment that have no value or depreciated already? Where does that fall under assets?
Yes. So, if you have equipment, let's say 3 years yung useful life niya, fully depreciated na siya after 3 years. Sa balance sheet mo, nandun yung cost mo na, let's say 300,000. Ang depreciation mo every year is 100,000. At the end of year 3, zero na yung net value mo, no? Yung book value ng equipment mo. But you still have to present it as asset. Whatever accumulated depreciation you have, if it's fully depreciated, it's a contra asset account that you also put in your balance sheet. So it's a contra account to your equipment account. Yun lang yun.
I think Mahar also mentioned it earlier. Diyan po papasok yung going concern concept sa accounting. Yes. Depende rin po kung kayo ay nagbebenta ng negosyo, kahit nag-depreciate na po yan, depende na rin po yun sa inyong negotiation with the one buying your business. Pwede nyo pong parinlagyan ng value or halaga yung asset.
Kung i-appraise mo, for example, kasi usually pag hindi na going concern, kailangan i-appraise or tignan na yung market value ng assets mo. But that's not the usual accounting method. That's exception because that's not anymore going concern. It's a separate type. Yung perspective mo hindi na dun sa ordinary course ng pag-set up mo na negosyo. So that is why sabi natin kung hindi ka going concern, most likely hindi na historical cost. So kung fully depreciated, pina-appraise mo yun, may value, i-declare niya. But your financial statement then would indicate that it's not for a going concern entity anymore.
Okay, thank you.
Yung isa, ano yung question niya? Ano po ibig sabihin pag incorporated? Ano po pagkakaiba niya sa corporation? I think it's the same.
It's the same. Sa Pilipinas po kasi wala tayong tinatawag nilang LLC or yung Limited Liability Corporation. Or private, what's the other international term? Pag sinabi pong corporation, yun po, nagpa-incorporate kayo sa Securities and Exchange Commission, naggawa po kayo ng corporation. Pag nilagay nyo po sa pangalan nyo, sabihin natin, Maharlika Corporation. Yun na po yung pangalan ng kumpanya niya, Maharlika
yung
Corporation.
Opo. Tama.
Pero pwedeng magtayo ng ibang tao, ilalagay naman niya, Maharlika Incorporated. So yung corporation incorporated, isa lang po ibig sabihin yan. Pero dahil sa pag-rehistro mo ng pangalan, pwede pong magkaibang entity yun. So technically parang sa spelling na lang po yan nagkaiba. Pero isa lang po ibig sabihin yan. Corporation po yun. So dito sa Pilipinas, wala po masyadong pinagkaiba yan. Sa ibang bansa kasi meron po tayong tinatawag na Limited Liability Corporation. So pag nakikita nyo po yung mga kumpanya ng mga foreign companies, ang pangalan nila ay Maharlika LLC. Or yun po, may iba pong kahulugan yun sa ibang bansa. Pero dito sa Pilipinas, wala po tayong ganong concept. So in corporation ay isa lang. Wala po
Yes.
nagkaiba yun. Spelling na lang. Pero doon po tayo mag-iingat kasi baka nga may makikapangalan kayo, ang ginamit lang INC instead of CORP.
Oo. Pero I
Pero-
think SEC now, they check kung
They're
may
checking now,
kapangalan.
yes.
Yeah, oo. You
That's right.
cannot register without this name check muna. So titignan din nila yan. Kung masyadong malapit, baka hindi
Baka
din
hindi
nila
ma-approve.
ibigay.
Or pwede mo
Oo.
naman i-waive. I think if you have the authority
Yeah,
from
you're
the...
right. You have a particular leeway talaga. Like our group, yung Development Advisory Group Philippines, may kapareho kaming pangalan na Development Advisory, I think. So SEC asked me to write kung ano yung basis kung bakit pwede kaming bigyan ng name. So you have to justify din pag ganyan. Pero
Thank you.
tama, may checking.
Less than
Ano
a
pa ba?
million gross sales, do we need to prepare a financial statement?
If you want a loan, then you are required, most likely.
The banks will
So,
require you. No?
It's really the requirements that will be asked of you, no, doon sa negosyo mo na magde-determine. But kung pwede kayong gumawa ng financial statement kahit na hindi audited, kahit na hindi required yung financial statement, ang suggestion ko lagi is make one. It doesn't have to be very complicated. Kahit yung cash mo lang alam mo, no? Yung equipment mo alam mo na meron akong equipment na ganito. Kasi at the end of the day, yung estimates naman ikaw gumagawa eh. For example, yung useful life ng bakery equipment ni Juan kanina, alam niya, in 3 years, dapat siguro papalitan ko na to. So yung useful life mo lang, divide mo by 3. Ang importante kasi, it's really more of habit forming that you know what your business is comprised of. Kasi kung wala kang record of some sort and a particular report at the end of the year, hindi mo mag-gauge kung totoong nag-grow na yung negosyo mo or kung tama bang kumikita ka. So I always say have a financial report. Not necessarily, kahit walang cash flow, kahit yung income statement, balance sheet, kahit ganon, okay na yun. Para lang meron kang simulan. Kasi if you don't start somewhere, medyo mahirap to jump off to a particular formal financial statement.
To the audience, no, kung gusto nyo pong linawin yung tanong nyo or gusto nyo mag-follow up question, please just turn on your mic and call our attention. I think related to that, we have this question for sa BIR po. Dealer po sila.
Okay.
As dealer po kasi 25% lang ang sa amin. Dapat po ba yung actual income ang i-declare namin or yung part lang po talaga na napupunta sa amin? Which is 25%.
Kasi kung dealer kayo, tapos yung revenue kasi na hinihingi for tax purposes, ano lang talaga yung sa entity. Kung sa ano lang talaga yung sa inyo. Oo. So, kasi if you declare the entire thing, and the 75% in that case is not to you, ang magiging taxable is the total. So, medyo lugi naman ho ata. This is just my basic understanding of this particular question. I don't really know what type of dealer this is. But ang alam ko, kung magkano talaga yung sa entity mismo na revenue, yun dapat yung dinedeclare niya.
Yeah, papasok siya as commissions, I guess, in your account. So hindi ka talaga nag-sell ng asset but you receive payment for your services. Yeah.
Service, sale of service. Pwede
sale of
yun.
service. Next is, I think it's 2 questions submitted. It's a one
It's
question
the same.
submitted twice.
Yeah.
Is there a localized free app or program that could help startup MSMEs with regards to accounting, bookkeeping for their business?
There are many. Well, I was with SGV 12 years ago. I don't know how much this particular landscape has changed in terms of mga applications and softwares, but there are softwares available in the market that's very basic accounting. So, I don't know lang the names of etong mga software na tsaka mga apps na to, but I'm pretty sure meron yan. So, I don't know, probably this is one avenue that DTI can help our MSMEs look into particular I don't know kung allowed
accounting
din yan.
software that will that they can afford or could be free,
or a particular program that is Filipino made, for example, that they can encourage na, oh, ito gamitin niyo or something. But if you wanna start small, especially kung maliit yung negosyo nyo, Excel will do. Walang, ang usually ang app tsaka ang software, gusto mo yan if medyo hindi mo na nakikita yung input and output mo kung manufacturing tsaka industrial yung industry mo. But if it's a service, for example, it's highly traceable. So an Excel, I think parang entry is will be sufficient for a small enterprise.
So again, we invite everyone to ask questions, and you can turn on your cameras because we're gonna take a picture in a short while. So I think also Excel paid siya, no? But it's I think you could still get it for free to a certain degree. You can also check Google Sheets on Gmail, or sorry, on Google. You can apply for a Google account or a Gmail account, and then you can open your Drive, and under Drive you will be able to see a Google version of Microsoft Office. Nandun po yung Excel nila, it's called Sheets, and very similar po ang functionalities nila. And then if you go on YouTube, marami pong tutorial dyan on setting up your spreadsheets. Hanap na lang po kayo na medyo localized. I'm pretty sure there's someone there who posted something relevant para po sa ating mga Filipino. Pero otherwise, the calculations or the equations at yung mga auto-function, pareho lang po yan. And ang importante, natuto po tayo na yung kimahar ng basics on accounting. I-apply lang po natin yan sa ating spreadsheet modeling. Perhaps maybe that's a program we can have in the future dito sa DTI SMERA or with Invest Balanga, is to do spreadsheet modeling para sa atin.
If I can add lang, Kerry,
Yeah.
Huwag matakot to list down your transactions. If you can do it daily, for example, if you're a bakery, usually daily ang pasok ng kita tsaka expenses mo kasi nagluluto ka. Maganda yung itong amount na to pumasok for the day, nagkautang sa ganitong amount ang utang sa akin for the day. Maganda yung ganon na you have the record. Kasi at the end of the day, hindi ka makakagawa ng report talaga or periodic statement kung hindi ka walang habit of recording. So, yun lang, wag din matakot dun sa idea of expenses or taxes, because at the end of the day, like for example, the taxes, may specific threshold naman siya. Yung expenses, as long as ginagamit mo yung expenses na yun to earn income, then I think you're fine. No? Ako kasi yun yung parang iniisip ko na palaging fear na, gastos na naman, expenses na naman. But don't fear the idea of expenses as long as yun nga may economic benefit na papasok sa negosyo.
Another route also is to if you're willing to invest, kung kaya nyo po mag-invest sa point of sale system o yung tinatawag ng POS. Yun po ay marami pong mga POS system na nakakapag-generate na rin ng mga financial statements. Isa na rin po yun sa isang produkto ng ating partner dito sa ating DTI SMERA ay yung kumpanya na Inspire. They provide POS systems, and you can look for them on Facebook and ask them about their systems if you'd like to get a quotation. Pero yeah, free advertising for Inspire. Pero that's something that these guys do. They provide POS systems for not just retail or fast food or food and beverage companies, but also even to the point of we provide HRIS systems and other IT software for different kinds of corporations, including government offices. So malawak na po itong nagawa ng Inspire, na homegrown po yan, taga-Balanga po yung kumpanya na yan.
Good.
Yeah, and you can explore their POS systems. Matutulungan po nila kayo sa inyong accounting, definitely. Do we have other questions, or can we turn on our cameras now if there are no other questions? Ask po namin kayo mag-unmute para na marinig namin boses niyo.
So far, there are no other questions sa chat. So, yung mga gusto po mag-volunteer live.
Yes, please. Let's turn on our cameras.
Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Or Glyza, are there questions from Facebook?
I think there's none on Facebook. We have likes. I think they're all here on the Zoom.
Sana natutunan niyo yung mga na discuss natin, nakadagdag na information. Ang lawak kasi ng accounting, pero yung accounting equation, parang una isipin mo dun lang yun eh, dun sa tatlong components. But very broad.
But before we take our picture, no, so everyone just turn on your cameras. We have that very small, short activity naman. It's just to get your feedback. Just go to I shared this on our chat link. I hope everyone was able to open it. Just go to tinyurl.com/DTI SMERA 2020 feedback. If you complete the form, we will then prepare for your training certificate, which comes from DTI. So to those who've already filled it up, thank you. So just a quick guidance, when you click for your form or click the link, you will be headed to this form. It's the client satisfaction survey. You will see this page on the screen right now. Lagay nyo lang pong inyong pangalan. Ang inyong pangalan, ang inyong address, contact number. Tapos yung title and date of webinar, pakipili lang po yung accounting equation, Wednesday 2 to 4 p.m., June 17, 2020. Tapos pindutin nyo lang po yung next. Pupunta naman po sa overall satisfaction. Pili lang po kayo. The drop down po yan. Makakapili po kayo ng very satisfied, satisfied, dissatisfied, and very dissatisfied. And then you can put po your comments. And then you click on next. For name of facilitator, please just put Maharlika Alonto. You rate her on her effectiveness. You can put your comments on her mastery of the topic, her ability to facilitate the discussion. And then on the program flow, you can rate that as well. And the program contents, o yung nilalaman po ng ating pinag-usapan na yung hapon. Tapos yung relevance po ng ating topic, paki-comment lang din. For facilitator number 2, skip nyo na po yan. Punta na po kayo sa pinakababa ng page and just press next. Sa program management naman po, ganun din. Paki-rate lang po ang facilitation and secretariat service. For venue and physical arrangement, actually, depende po yan kung saan kayo na yun dahil nasa Zoom po tayo. No? Pero please, I hope we were able to listen and sana po na okay yung connectivity natin na narinig natin si Mahar sa kanyang presentation at clear po ang ating screen. For time allotted, I think we're on time. No? Just a few minutes extended. Pero I hope we didn't take too much of your time, everyone. And you can put on your comments. Ito po, tulungan po natin ang DTI at saka ang Invest Balanga. Ano po ang training programs na gusto niyo po pong ma-attend? At saka ano po yung mga inyong suggestions on how we can improve or how DTI can improve their services. And afterwards, you just hit submit. May lalabas po dyan na message na kayo po ay nakapag-submit na ng feedback form. And afterwards, we will get your name. Tapos gagawin na po namin ang inyong training certificate at i-email po namin ito sa inyo sa inyong email address. So soft copy po siya. So very quickly lang din, we do invite everyone to come back and join us on Friday para po matuloy ni Mahar ang kanyang discussion on accounting. So basics po ng accounting natutunan natin na yun. On Friday po, isa-isahin na natin yung mga financial statements. So masihimayin po ni Mahar yan para sa inyo. So that's on Friday, June 19, 2 to 4 p.m. Just go to the same website, tinyurl.com/DTI SMERA 2020 para po mag-register. Or kung naka-register na po kayo noon, hindi na po kailangan mag-register ulit. Nakuha na po namin ang inyo pangalan at saka contact info. Papadala po namin ang Zoom link para po sa call on Friday. So ganun po ulit, no? On Zoom po ulit tayo on Friday. And then next week po, more on cost accounting. Nabanggit ni Mahar, one part of accounting or one aspect of accounting is cost management or cost accounting. Yun po ay didiscuss ni Ms. Mel Carasig, ang ating hospital administrator dito ng ICMC. So she will be with us on Wednesday, June 24, 2 to 4 p.m. din. So same registration link. And then the last one for June is with Rock Cleo, our friend from JCI Makati. He's the CEO of the New Agency. He used to work with SM Retail for more than a decade doing marketing. He is a design thinking facilitator, design sprint master, and a creative director. And he took his He graduated from NUS in Singapore. So he will be with us on Friday, June 26 to talk about designing your collaterals online. So meron po siyang i-share sa atin na free software na pwede natin gamitin sa ating mga computer na hindi na natin kailangan aralin ng Photoshop, at saka ang Photoshop po kasi may bayad, at saka mahal po ang training din doon. Pero although marami namang tutorial sa YouTube, ito pong ipapakita sa atin ni Rock ay ang tinatawag na software na Canva. So we will use Canva to teach our MSMEs paano po gumawa ng mga logo nila or ng mga advertisement nila or mga flyer nila on social media na magagamit ninyo para sa pag-promote ng inyong mga kanya-kanyang negosyo. So please again join us on June 26, Friday, with Rock Cleo, Designing Your Collaterals Online. So with that, if there are no other questions, we'll do a group picture. Kasi normally, Mahar, when we do our Invest Balanga seminar, we take a group photo. We ask everyone to do the One Bataan sign. So I will stop sharing this and we will try to do. Wait, let me see if I can get this ready. I can't share the screen, but I think everyone can see their screen right now. I put it on gallery view. I need to ask everyone else to turn on the cameras. We have Archie Boy, Sansu, Marlon, Neil Tan, Architect Pilar, andyan pala kayo. Sir Gaby, Rona, Miss Regina. We can turn on our mics and just say hi to Mahar. Say hi to everyone.
Hello.
Hi po.
Hello, hello.
Hindi naman lahat
Salamat po.
kabalanga, no?
Maribeles po.
Ayan.
Merong Mariveles. I think we have someone from Pilar earlier. Actually,
Pilar.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oy, welcome po. Sana may
Miss
natutunan.
Mahar.
Marami.
Thank you, Miss
Po, ma'am.
Mahar.
thank you guys. No, I think baka yung iba hindi it depends with their connection if they can turn on their cameras din. So I think those who I can see on the screen, I would like to invite you to we'll try to do a screenshot. You'll do the honors with the screenshot, Ed. Number 1. One Bataan. You can hear the click, no? Anyways.
Tapos na. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you, everyone. So on Friday, no, babalik si Mahar. We'll learn we will learn understanding financial statements with Mahar on Friday. Please join us and thank you, everyone, for staying.
Salamat po.
Thank you po,
Thank you,
ma'am.
Mahar. So on behalf of Mayor Francis Anthony S.
Friday po
Garcia,
ulit.
in behalf of Inspire, in behalf of DTI Bataan, and in behalf of everyone on my team, Edmer, Glyza, and Kuya Rene, and also, of course, JCI Bataan. So I think Press BJ just had to leave. But in behalf of everyone who has been part of this program and everyone else who has joined us on this Zoom call and also on Facebook Live, thank you for this afternoon. Thank you, Mahar. We learned a lot and we're going to learn again on Friday. So thank you, everyone. Magandang hapon po. Ingat po tayo lahat. Salamat.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.
Thank you po.